Have you ever wondered why some experiences are just impossible to get over? Why they seem to live on in our bodies, in our reactions, and in our relationships? Well, today we're diving into a landmark work on this very topic, exploring how trauma isn't just a story we tell ourselves, but something our bodies literally never forget. This right here, this is the heart of it all. It tells us that trauma isn't just a memory of something that happened in the past. Nope, it's a physical imprint, a biological reality that actually reshapes who we are, changing our minds, our emotions, and yeah, even our immune systems. But to really truly get this, we need to go beyond the abstract ideas. We're going to start with a story that puts a human face on what we call PTSD. So, meet Tom. Now, on the surface, this guy was the picture of success, a great lawyer, a family man, but underneath all that, a war was still raging, and it had nothing to do with a courtroom. For him, the sound of 4th of July fireworks wasn't a celebration, it was an echo of Vietnam. This really shows you how deep the alienation goes. Tom wasn't just having bad memories, he felt like he was living behind a glass wall, totally cut off from the people he loved most. His body was just stuck on high alert, so a tiny frustration could trigger this explosive rage. The only escape he could find was numbing it all with alcohol, or chasing that feeling of control on his motorcycle. He was basically a prisoner of his own past. So what in the world was happening inside Tom's head? Why couldn't he just move on like everyone told him to? Well, the answer, we've now learned, lies in how trauma literally rewires the brain. You know that image of a trauma survivor, right? Stunned, silent, just unable to explain what happened? It turns out there's a profound neurological reason for this. It is absolutely not a choice. It's a biological shutdown. So check this out. When researchers triggered a flashback in people who were inside a brain scanner, they saw something absolutely stunning. Broca's area, that's the speech center of the brain, it just went dark. The experience becomes a speechless horror because the very part of the brain you need to put words to what's happening is literally taken offline by fear. And this leads to this constant battle inside the traumatized brain. Okay, think of it like this. The amygdala is your brain's smoke detector. It senses danger and just screams, fire! The prefrontal cortex, that's the watchtower. It's supposed to look down and say, hey, relax, it's just some burnt toast. But in a traumatized brain, that smoke detector is blaring 24/7, and the phone line to the watchtower is basically cut. The alarm completely overpowers logic, keeping the body locked in fight, flight, or freeze. But this rewiring of the brain doesn't just happen because of war or a terrible accident. For millions of people, it starts in the one place they should feel the safest, their childhood home. This quote just reframes everything we think about childhood abuse. It's not just a series of bad memories. It's a formative experience. Maltreatment acts like a chisel, literally shaping a developing brain to be on constant guard for danger. It's a brain built for survival, but man, the cost is just immense. And that cost is not abstract at all. This number, it comes from the groundbreaking Adverse Childhood Experiences study. You might have heard of it as the ACE study. It found that a person with an ACE score of 6 or more was, get this, 4,600% more likely to become an IV drug user later in life. Let that sink in. Not 46%, 4,600%. So what are these ACEs? They are a specific set of 10 really disruptive childhood events, like the ones you see listed right here. The study found this direct, undeniable link. The more ACEs someone experiences, the higher their risk for pretty much everything, from addiction to chronic disease. The wounds from that childhood chisel, they are deep and they are enduring. Okay, so if trauma is so deeply embedded in our bodies and our brains, is healing even possible? The answer is a resounding yes. But it requires a fundamentally different approach, one that goes way beyond just talking. Recovery isn't about erasing the past. It's really about building a new future, and it unfolds in stages. First, a survivor has to find a sense of safety inside their own skin, a feeling that is often completely foreign. Second, they learn to live in the present moment without being constantly dragged back into the horror of the past. And finally, they begin to reconnect with other people, rebuilding the trust that trauma so often shatters. Because trauma is held in the body, healing must involve the body. This is exactly why traditional talk therapy can sometimes fall short. Things like yoga can help people safely re-inhabit their bodies. EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, helps the brain process and integrate those stuck traumatic memories. And even something like theater can be incredibly therapeutic, allowing survivors to try on different roles and emotions in a safe, shared space. And this brings us to what is maybe the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. Nobody heals from trauma alone. Healing happens in connection. It's those safe, attuned relationships that finally calm the brain's overactive alarm system. Whether it's with a therapist, a partner, or a whole community, it's within these bonds that a survivor can truly, finally begin to heal. So we're left with a much bigger question, aren't we? If we know the body keeps the score, and we know that healing is possible through safety and connection, what's our role in all this? As friends, as communities, as a society? Maybe the goal isn't to force people to forget the past, but to create a present that's safe enough for them to finally let it go.